Touch My Hair. That is the name of the New York exhibit designed to enlighten and educate, but it also sparked a little bit of controversy. Antonia Opiah, who joins me via Skype from Paris, and her sister Abigail launched the exhibit. It began with a simple question: can I touch your hair? Antonia said yes, but demanded first that you put some thought into that question. Thank you so much for joining us, Antonia. But also here in New York is cultural critic Michaela Angela Davis and model Malliha Ahmad, who allowed strangers, first of all, to fondle her hair. But I am going to start with Antonia. Antonia, please tell me, what made you decide to go forward with this?
Well, I did it for two reasons. The first reason was I wanted to make a statement. The second was I wanted to start a conversation. So the statement that I wanted to make was just to illustrate what that question, what can I touch my hair or can I touch your hair, how that can make or potentially make a person feel. And in some situations, it can make you feel like you're put on display. So I wanted to illustrate that because it's been said before, and there's a lot more power when you show versus tell. The second part of this was just to understand more what was behind the question. A lot of people cite admiration or curiosity, but we wanted to know exactly, particularly about the curiosity, I wanted to know why you're curious, why our hair is something that you haven't been exposed to before.
And Michaela and Malliha, it is kind of a loaded question, right? Can I touch your hair? Michaela, I want you to respond to this first. I know I certainly wouldn't be letting anybody touch my hair, but it also kind of depends on who it is.
Yeah,
and asking.
I think that there's social commentary, and when you're doing something in an art space, which I feel like this was a real sort of art and philosophical and provocative thing to do, then it makes a lot of sense. You know, if you just look at it on the surface value, can you touch my hair? Most people are like, oh no.
No.
Just like, but it was to do this public sort of art experience, because I feel like it really was about to provoke a conversation, and particularly a two-way conversation, because sisters, we know right. what the hair feels like and how it grows. And it's more about the other. And at this point, it was interesting for her to put white folks as the other. And by the way, your hair looks really happy today in Paris. Like, I love it.
Thank you.
Because it was different the other day, but this is kind of part of the conversation, right? This ability to change one's hair and change the conversation, that I think others don't have that same possibility. You know, in 2 minutes with a flat iron, I'm having a different conversation.
Right.
And I think that there's a real curiosity. But what's interesting to me is, did you get the other side?
And like, I'm curious, you know, right? What are some of the things that people said?
Well, I mean, basically, a lot of people came up and they were curious. They wanted to know, well, how does your hair feel? It looks so soft, it's so fluffy, it's huge. They wanted to know what I put in my hair, what's my hair regimen. They asked me if I was uncomfortable with people touching my hair, with the whole social experiment. And to my question, my answer was, in the beginning, I was uncomfortable. Of course, I put myself outside of the social norm of what I accept. Typically, I don't accept anyone touching my hair, but I said, you know what, for this social experiment, I said, why not educate and familiarize people with black hair? So I did it, and it was a great bonding experience. It was extremely educational. A lot of people walked away with a whole different perception of the whole concept.
What did they think it was going to feel like?
Well, I mean, you know, some women, they were like, oh, wow, it actually is soft. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. And you know, I was curious, you know, when you were doing the experiment, you didn't feel like you were pacifying anyone.
No.
You didn't feel that. That's
not
great.
at all.
But did anyone, did they, in that moment, when you give people permission to step inside of what I see as ignorance, because as you said in the open, that other folks haven't been made to know about us in a real way. Like, there's no way I'm gonna walk up to someone that looks like Taylor Swift and say, can I touch your hair?
That's
I know
right.
every doll I've ever had had hair like that. Like, it's not a mystery. Did anyone have a moment of enlightenment, like, oh my God, this is the dumbest question, like, did you see anybody have a switch? Like, by me asking her to touch my hair, it's revealed to me how little I know about these people that I ride the subway with, that did anyone have a breakthrough?
I think that just in total, people did have breakthroughs. I mean, predominantly there was African American women there. There weren't as many Caucasians at the social experiment. Granted, I was there for the Thursday experiment. I wasn't there for the second one, so I'm not quite sure what the turnaround was for that. But I think everyone left with this whole idea of, wow, why is it that this is a question? Why is it that we're unfamiliar with this? Why is it different?
And Antonia, there were some people that didn't quite embrace this social experiment. There were those who were also demonstrating and protesting, and they were invoking Sarah Burton, a South African woman who at one point was put on display. She was displayed throughout Europe. Not everyone received this social experiment well. How did you take that?
Well, it was, first of all, it was hard. I won't lie. It was hard to see that response to it, just because I know my own intent. And also because I felt that we're all on the same team and we're all saying the same thing. I just chose to say it in a very different way. But once I passed that, I completely understood where that reaction was coming from. Black people, we have been subjected to a lot of things that we shouldn't have been subjected to, and that still even happens today. So we don't want to continue to see a Sarkey Bartman type of exploitation happen again. And those people who reacted to it, they saw just the images and just the hashtag on Twitter, and they didn't really get a chance to see what was actually taking place at the exhibit. They didn't necessarily get to experience the types of discussions that were being had. So it's fine to have that kind of reaction to something that appears to be just, amusement or just, appeasing people's curiosity. But I feel like if you're actually there and you had a chance to feel the energy, and I wasn't there, admittedly, but from what I've been able to see on camera, you can see the energy, you can see what happened, and people have written to me saying that it was a very positive experience. And people who couldn't attend and some people who didn't see it in that negative light emailed us or messaged us saying, my city needs this, California needs this, Washington needs this, Atlanta needs this. So there's been a mixed response to it. The negative response is the predominant response. But yeah, I mean, and I essentially know exactly where those people are coming from. We need to protect ourselves. I would have liked for people to have given it more of a chance. That's my only request.
But don't you think, though, if you do something that everybody agrees with, that you haven't done anything provocative?
You haven't pushed the envelope.
When you move people out of into an uncomfortable space, that's where there's room for growth. Right. And a lot of people will react. I'm excited by the fact that people responded in this really intense way. I mean, you say black hair, of course sisters are going to show up like it's a religion.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. It is such a hotbed for emotional history, hysteria, baggage, pain, pride, all of that is in our hair.
And it's also an opportunity to swap stories about what works and what doesn't work.
Right, like what kind are you using?
What cream are you using?
Yeah, a lot of sisters are coming down just for some information.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, and I think we were talking about this in the green room, the phenomena of the natural hair movement online is they're looking for information, they're looking for role models, they're looking for people that inspire them in hair, and like, really, what are you just doing? Because the industry hasn't kept up with us. Yeah. And the idea that wearing your hair the way it grows out of your head is provocative in itself is something we need to unpack. Like, why is it such a touch point that I'm wearing my hair the way that I'm born with it, right? We're meant to change it.
Yeah, but I think we kind of know why. You think about the perm and the relaxer and how, for many of us coming up, that was kind of a rite of passage. It's like when you mature, you're old enough to get a relaxer in your hair, and this very, mainstream way of conditioning where women haven't felt comfortable, being their real selves. And I just think that it's,
But it's also a dollars and cents issue as well, too,
Yeah,
because
there's
it's
an
also the difference between whether or not you get a job in corporate America and you're 9 to 5,
Sure.
or you don't. I mean, my family is from Jamaica, and dreadlocks, as you might know, is pretty popular in Jamaica. And I remember wanting to have dreadlocks when I was younger, and my mother would not have it because I was not going to be able to get a job. I wasn't going to be able to get into the school that I wanted to, because that was not the look of professionalism.
There's still a stigma.
There's still that stigma associated.
And I think there's a stigma attached to weaves and wigs where I think you're still a real black girl.
Yeah.
You're still naturally a black girl if you wear a weave or a wig.
Yes, you certainly are. Hint, hint.
Really, because it's really about you defining who you say you are, right?
Yeah.
And what's also amazing about being a black woman is that in the club, I could put on a wig and be the sister I want to be in the club.
Right.
I can wear this hair to the show. I can wear another hair to the board meeting. Like, we have this array, this plethora, bouquet of versatility that we need to embrace. But first, we have to get through some of the nappy stories so we can get to embrace it. I think that we're also meant to compare each other, like, oh, you're a natural girl, so you got these kind of politics.
Or you got good hair.
Or you've got good hair.
Right.
And I think good hair is healthy hair. And I think a lot of the politics around the industry it's not promoting health in our hair. I think we have a lot of health justice issues, whether it comes to food, but also to beauty. And I think those are the real political issues. But, I also reject this idea that because I wear my hair like this, that if I wore a weave, somebody's going to take my black girl card.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Antonia, I have to say, I think your objective worked, because you can see you've got us across the pond talking about it. And I understand women in Spain actually did a tribute and staged something similar. So thank you so much for your provocative gesture to get the conversation going. And thank you, ladies, for being here with us. I'm so sorry we ran out of time. I'm sure we can come back.
talk about black hair all day.
All day.
Yeah, right.
So I'll have to have you guys come back and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
Definitely.
thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank
Thank you.
And you are watching Our Take.